it's Kelly, and I am live on Zoom as I record this screen capture video for you. And as you can see, when you first log into Zoom, it's going to come up as a separate window on your desktop. So you're not going to be in your browser, like right next to your Facebook app or your email app. It's going to be separate. And sometimes it's a little hard to see things in Zoom. So the first thing you need to know is you can hover your mouse around the screen and you're going to see options. First, you can turn off your video. You can say, I'm really not interested in y'all seeing me today. But one of the powerful things about Zoom is you can be face-to-face with people without being face-to-face. So I do recommend video. You know, this might be a good time over the weekend to kind of clean up your office or just, do some lighting, whatever you need to do to make sure that you don't look like you're in a dark hole or a hoarder's house. You can also mute yourself if, for example, you have a coughing fit or someone is presenting and you need your background to be quiet. If somebody couldn't figure out how to get on the call, you can click this invite button and you could just copy the URL or copy the whole invitation and immediately send it out. I'm going to assume most people were able to get on the call, and you can see who's on the call as the host with this Manage Participants button. And this will show you all the participants in the call, and they'll be separated by host and participant. And this is important if you're teaching or you're inviting people to present, because you can elevate a participant to a host or a presenter. And that would allow someone to share their screen, to speak, and to basically come out of the crowd like up on stage. If you don't need to manage participants, you can just turn that off. Now, sharing screens is really interesting in Zoom, and I don't know how this is going to work with me recording as I share. But when you do a share screen, you have to remember that only one person should be sharing at a time for simplicity. So that's an automatic check. But to share, simply click on the green button and up will pop this option. And what most people do that they don't understand is they just share their whole screen. Well, instead, you could share a window. So you could share just your Chrome or you could share just your PowerPoint. And you want to make sure that if you're going to be sharing a presentation, you know what you're sharing. So I'm also going to recommend this app called Muzzle. And if you just search for Muzzle app, you'll see it's this app on your computer that will silence all the notifications that come into your computer while you're screen sharing. And you should check it out anyways, it has a hilarious homepage which shows all these embarrassing notifications that might be coming on as you're sharing your screen. But that's the screen share function. It's really useful. The next function that I really love is the chat. So in the group chat, you have some options. When there's lots of people on a call, this everyone will change and give you an option to privately send someone a message on chat or to post it for everyone. So we use this a lot when we're teaching and we have a workbook we want people to download, or I'm doing a webinar and this is a sales page to check out the program. It will be helpful for you, especially if your team or the people you're working with are not usually virtual, to be able to reference what was in the chat. And importantly, if you're recording your call, the chat will actually be in the record so you can go back and look at chat later. And here's a record button. Really simple, two options: record on the computer, record on the cloud. If your computer's at full capacity and always slowing down, take some time this weekend and clean it up. You're gonna wanna have space for these recordings so that you can distribute them to those who weren't live on the call or just save them for your records. You might need to verify who was there live if it's an attendance thing, and you might wanna go back and listen to things. I end up recording all of my calls with clients and leads because sometimes when we're really in the flow, even if they don't hire me and we have a really great conversation and they're like, oh my gosh, you just said exactly what I've been trying to articulate. I'll say, well, no problem. I'm recording this. Just make a mental note that about 35 minutes in, you want to re-listen to that part of our conversation. And it's super helpful. And then the last thing is the end meeting button. And this is what you're going to click at the end of the call. So if I am recording on this, you're going to see the little record button come up. And then you can pause the recording at any time. If I'm doing a one-on-one call, I mostly pause it if somebody has to go to the bathroom or gets interrupted, just so we don't have long, awkward pauses. And then I just resume that recording and everyone can see it's recording. When I'm at the end of a call, I'll stop the recording and then end the meeting. And when there's lots of people on the call, you can end the meeting for everyone or just leave the meeting yourself. And if you're the host, you should just end the meeting for everyone because otherwise some people won't notice and it gets a little awkward. So that's the basics of what you need to see and know to run and host a call on Zoom. I referred today to Zoom as like Skype's little sister that just has a bit more features and is a little bit more upgraded. I am assuming that as lots of people begin to use Zoom and work virtually, it might have some crashes, and that's totally normal. What you should tell people is that if they have the link and they get booted out, just to come back on the call or to use the phone number to dial in, that when they come on the call, they should be prepared to engage their audio and be on video if that's appropriate. And especially to get audio working for a big group, everyone should have headphones. Now, I'm not even going to go into how AirPods like will fail in the middle of a call, but if you don't have your headphones plugged in, then what usually happens is you have your audio up, and if you're unmuted, it creates this echo feedback, which is really obnoxious for everyone else. So I would say if you're doing your first Zoom call in the coming week, to communicate to everyone who's attending the link to attend, ask them to do a dry run and just download the Zoom software 5 minutes before the call. Remind everyone to bring their headphones and then anything else that they need to participate or listen for that call. You might need to, have them kind of like do a little, I'm here, or, check in on the chat. But set those expectations and then roll with the punches. We really don't know what's happening in a lot of areas concerning this coronavirus. So if you can make one thing that you need to do to adapt a little bit easier, it'll help everyone out. And remember that if you have tools like this in your business or organization or your school, you can use them again. You could show your students how they can do presentations or practice speeches on Zoom and not just get used to talking through a presentation, but then watch it back and see themselves and, improve and improve over and again. You could coordinate group projects like this, although I hated group projects, so I probably shouldn't say that. You could do, teacher meetings, colleague meetings, whatever you need through software like this in order to keep people safe and to ensure that, life continues on, because we can't all just take 2 weeks off of life and, sit at home doing nothing. So Zoom and tools like it are a great way to communicate. So I hope that's been helpful for you. If so, please share it with other people you know who are in that work from home world. It is fantastic in lots of ways. It's stressful in some ways, but I've been doing it for almost 10 years. I'm actually here in my home office, which is bittersweet because this will be my last few weeks of working here. And I hope that these tips have helped you as you are working from home, even temporarily.